I am the host, Scott Cunningham, a professor of economics at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. And this week I am doing my podcasts in San Sebastián of the Basque Country in the northern part of Spain. And I came here because one of my favorite articles that has ever been written in economics is a study of the economic costs of conflict that was studying terrorism in the Basque Country. It was co-authored by Alberto Abadie, who I've had on the podcast twice, and today's guest, Javier Gardeazabal. I am 100% positive I just mispronounced the last name, and but I've been saying Javier Gardeazabal for 15 years, and I at least learned today that it is Javier. Uh, that said, you will hear his name correctly pronounced in a minute, and I apologize to him right ahead of time. For those that are just tuning in, the podcast is not your typical podcast. It's not two economists talking about monetary policy or trade with China. It is rather a podcast devoted to listening to the personal stories of living economists and through those narratives to create an oral history of the last 50 years of the profession. And there's oftentimes a little bit of a mini series, you might call it, where I talk to people that fit into a smaller story within the big scope and the big arc of economics itself. And one of those mini series is causal inference. And the synthetic control estimator that was developed by Alberto Abadie in this paper with Javier in the 2003 American Economic Review to study the economic costs of terrorism and its impact on GDP in the Basque Country has been called one of the most innovative or one of the most important innovations in causal inference of the last 20 years by no less than Susan Athey, former John Bates Clark Award winner and former chief economist at Microsoft and now professor at Stanford, and Hito Embens, the Nobel Prize winner and professor also at Stanford. So I wanted to meet Javier, wanted to meet him for 15 years probably. And it's probably a paper that I've thought about, used to every day for 10 years. I've written about it. I've used it in studies about 4 or 5 times. It's an entire chapter in the mixtape. I wanted to come to the Basque Country to sort of just see with my own eyes where the application was, and I wanted to meet Javier and listen to his story as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to my doppelganger, Scott Cunningham, from an hour ago, actually 2 hours ago. We talked, well, we this is not a 2 hour interview, but we did chat for a little bit after the camera quit rolling. But we're going to turn it over to Scott and Javier, and they're going to talk, and you're going to get to hear the story of Javier's, a little bit of the story of his life. So it was wonderful to talk to him. He's a professor at the University of the Basque Country. He's had a very diverse research agenda, and I'm going to let you kind of pick that up as we talk. But if you like the podcast, thank you so much for your support. And if you like it, please share it with anyone and everyone. Okay, well, this is a exciting pleasure for me because I've never gotten to meet our guest, but I have been wanting to meet them for probably 15 years now. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. For the sake of the listener, can you tell us your full name, your job title, and who pays your bills?
Hi, I'm Javier Gardeazabal. I'm a professor of economics at the University of the Basque Country. And and the University of the Basque Country pays for my bills.
Pay your bills. Yep. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Javier. It's so nice to have you on the show. And did you say I can say Javier?
Yeah, fine. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not exactly right?
Well, the pronunciation here would be a bit slightly different, but I'm
How do
used
you say
to
it? Let me try to
being
do it. Let me try to do
Javier.
it. Javier.
Yeah, so like,
Javier.
but yeah, no
More of a,
way Americans can say that,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's like some of the English uh, sounds that I am completely unable to do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I'm from Mississippi, so any sound I'm going to make is going to be the worst version of it in America. But I'm going to try. Javier. All
Uh-huh.
right. So, icebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about a vacation that you went on in your life. Doesn't have to be your favorite vacation, doesn't have to be the best one, doesn't have to be the worst one. All it is a vacation that you have thought about every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But probably vacation I went recently. Well, recently it was in 2019, I guess, um, to Madeira, with my daughters, and well, we had a very nice time there. We were hiking most of the time. Uh, the the Iceland is like incredible.
Mm.
Um, like if you are in the coast, it's like a sunny day, but then in the middle of the mountain, I mean, in the middle of the island, is a mountain, and then there it's always cloudy and rainy. So, and then well, the water from this rain is kept through these tiny little canals that go around the mountains, and then there are paths along these canals that you can walk through, and this was very nice. Mhm.
Oh, that's nice. How old are your daughters when they went with you?
Um, so 21 and 22.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
My daughter's coming here to the Basque Country to San Sebastian next
Uh-huh.
Tuesday, and
Uh-huh.
we've never done anything. This is for the listener. I'm in San Sebastian, the Basque Country, and I guess I'm an hour away from you. Is that right, Javier? Is
No, no.
Bilboa is an hour?
Bilbao and San Sebastián are at the same time.
But is it? I'm
Ah,
one
well, yeah, yeah, you mean, yeah, yeah. I
okay.
thought, I thought you meant
The time zone.
the time zone. Yeah.
I'm so
Yes,
looking
an
forward.
hour or so. Yeah.
Vacations with the older the kids when they're like adults, young adults is really fun.
Uh-huh.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, probably that's why I remember that with a special feeling, like when they were kids. That it was. I mean, you are supposed to take the kids when you're in to your vacations, right? But
Right.
when they are grown ups, they don't want to go with you.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up and what did your parents do for a living?
Mhm. Um, my father was a tailor,
Oh,
and my mother housewife.
oh, okay.
Um, and we lived like I don't know, 50 meters from where I'm now.
Oh, really? That close? You can
That's
still,
close.
is
Yeah,
the house still there?
yeah, yeah. My parents are there.
Oh, they still
My
live
parents,
there.
yeah, my parents are 93 and 91 right now.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
Are they doing pretty well?
Well, not that pretty well lately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but still, I have them around. Uh,
What's that?
I have them so here with me.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's, it's good. Not everyone can enjoy having
Yeah.
the parents around at that age.
Hey, so you grew up in
That's
Bilbao,
right. Mhm.
and your dad was a tailor. He had like his
Mhm.
own store.
Uh, mm, well, not his own store. No? It was my grandfather, my
Oh,
grandfather's store.
okay. Okay.
Uh-huh. And then he started to produce some clothes for women.
Mm,
The business didn't go very well in the first oil crisis. Was a disaster for the business, and he had to close the business. And then
mm,
later on, he opened a store, small store, also for he used to sell women's fashion.
mm,
Um, well, and he kept doing that till he was 60 some, 62, 63, about my age. And, uh, and, and then when everyone thought that he was going to retire, he decided to close that business and open another one where he has been selling welding alloys and lubricants for industrial maintenance uh, up till very recently. Uh,
second career. He had a second career.
no, well, he all of a sudden he decided to change, and he told me, "You see, Javi, Javi, he calls me Javi for short, right? And you see, Javi, when you sell uh, women's clothes and you buy some clothes to sell, and then um, it rains a lot, then you don't sell, right? Whereas, but if you don't sell a piece, the year after is worthless because
Oh, because of
the
fashion.
change in fashion, right? Whereas in with selling welding alloys, if you don't sell this year, you sell it the next one,
You
no
sell it
problem.
the next one. Yeah, that's right. You can put it in inventory, it still works. I never thought about that. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, that's pretty risky. That's
Mhm.
pretty risky in
Well, now um, the business model in the fashion sector is now completely different. It's
oh,
vertically integrated, whereas at the time
yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
now, you go to any store and when when you buy a pair of pants, right? At some point in the other side of the world, there is someone making another pair, right?
Yeah. Right, right. Well, so what was your childhood like? What kind of games did you play as a little kid?
Well, uh, the, I mean, as a kid, well, we here basically playing soccer with the classmates and things like that. When I, um, when I was, I guess, 14, they opened an ice rink here near here,
Hmm.
um, and then well, my friends and I went to this ice rink and learned how to ice skate, and
Yeah.
and then they opened the school of hockey, ice hockey, and we signed up. So we used to go every Saturday and Sunday in the mornings uh, because it was near here, but well, it's in a mountain near here, or it used to be because there is no ice rink anymore. Uh, so it would take you have to take a cable. I don't know what's the name, funicular. Like when you take the, I mean, if you go skiing, right? The thing that you take that takes you to the up of the hill, right?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so we started playing ice hockey up until I was 18, I believe. But then it was incompatible studying at the university and playing hockey, playing
I
ice
didn't know.
hockey.
Is ice hockey a national sport? Is it popular
Well, not
throughout?
not like in the US, but not any closer, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays there is no ice rink here in Bilbao. Huh? There is one in San Sebastián, where
Oh.
the Shuriurdin team plays.
Mm,
Also another one in Vitoria-Gasteiz.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And there are, I mean, the uh, Football Club Barcelona has
Yeah.
a nice ice hockey section, a very good one, by the way. Also in Jaca, they play also ice hockey. So,
So
well,
you still love the sport? You
yeah, yeah,
still love.
yeah, yes. I follow. I'm a Flyers fan, of course.
Uh-huh. Ah, that's awesome. I didn't even know that was a thing here. Okay.
Uh, and
So go ahead.
mhm. and well, and when I was, I guess, 40 some, then one day I saw this guy skating with inline skating with wheels, right?
Mhm.
And in the street, and I said, "Oh my, that's exactly like ice skating." So I went to this store and buy a pair of skates. But then I said, I wasn't sure I could skate, right? After so many
Yeah.
years without skating, right? And
Right.
so I went to the garage. Uh, I mean, the surface there was very smooth, no? And put the skates on. Well, and it was like a skating, and it's like it once like riding a bicycle, right? Once you learn, it doesn't. You don't forget.
It's the same technique. It's the same technique as ice
What?
skating.
Yes, almost.
Almost the same technique.
You Yeah, you break differently.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't do that thing.
The first thing. Well, the first time, the problem was that I didn't know how to break.
You started going really fast.
Well, it was a flat surface. It wasn't a big deal, no? But
Uh, well,
uh,
so what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were little? Like sort of at the, maybe like 9 or 10 or whatever. Did you ever have something that you were wanting to be when you grew up?
well, I guess at the time I thought I would follow my father's steps, right, and
Oh, yeah.
continue with his business, and, probably.
Did you have that skill, that like that human capital and being a
Well,
tailor?
not really, not really. Uh, I helped him. I mean, lots of times in the festival when he was a tailor, and then when he had the business. But well, no, I didn't really like it.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. But did you have a knack for the business part? Could that have been something you liked?
Maybe. Well, actually, when I decided to study economics,
Uh-huh.
well, first of all, I wanted to study business. rather than
Yeah.
economics, right? Yeah, because I mean, it was supposed to run a business, so you better learn how to run a business, right? And
Mhm.
but then I had this professor at high school who told me, no, don't study business. You should study economics.
He said that in high school?
Yep. Mhm.
Oh.
Uh,
Had you heard
and
of it before?
sorry.
Had you heard of economics before he said that?
Well, I didn't really knew the difference at the time.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, so, but I mean, he was the only person who gave me a piece of advice on about whether to choose one or another, and I trust this former professor of mine, so I
Mm.
follow his advice.
You
So
declared that before you went to college? You were like, I'm going to major in economics?
that's right. Mhm.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
because well, this is here in Spain, it's a bit different from the States, right? In the States, you choose the major once you are at the university, whereas here, I mean, you apply to different schools, and you by applying to a particular school, you are implicitly choosing the major. Mm.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
see. I see. Wait, so is the University of the Basque Country, is it would be if you wanted to major in economics, you would go to University of the Basque Country?
Well, here in Spain, I mean, students apply to, uh, or most of the students apply to the university closest to their place. Mm.
Yeah,
Most of them stay at their parents while they are studying at the university.
I see.
Um, uh, and at the time, the University of the Basque Country, well, the econ department, right, or the School of Economics of the university, while uh, uh, I don't know how to evaluate because basically because I didn't know what the other schools, how
Yeah,
good the other schools were, right?
right,
Mhm.
right.
Uh,
And it's in Bilbao? That's where you went to
in
college?
Bilbao, that's right. Mhm.
Bilbao? And you lived with your mom and dad while you were going, just like everyone else?
That's right. Mhm.
How
That's
far
right.
away was it from your house? Was it walkable?
Well, that school is the school I work now.
Yeah, I knew that.
Uh-huh. And
Can you walk to it from your house or you have
yeah,
to drive?
I work every morning.
Oh, that's neat. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
So you enter in what, like 1980? You go to college around 1980, is that right?
That at the early 1980s. Yeah.
1980s. And so tell me about, did you start taking an economics class the first semester you got there?
Well, it's an economics school. Oh, you
Oh,
can't
okay.
take other subjects. Well, you have to take some law courses in law, well, accounting, right? Things that wouldn't be my cup of tea, but
Yeah.
mandatory, right?
Right.
Mandatory subjects. Mhm. But the others, micro, macro, statistics, path, econometrics, and so on. Mhm.
So, you had never taken any economics class. Was there a point when you're at the university where you went from just being a student that's majoring in economics to being a student that really loves economics?
Oh, yes. I would say in my third year in my third bachelor's degree year. Um, well, all of a sudden I realized, because up to that point, I went through the courses, well, like a gate. I only wanted to pass them, right? But then,
Right.
I don't know why, but all of a sudden, realized I like this stuff.
What was the class? What happens in the third year?
Well, I guess I took this macroeconomics course. The textbook was the famous Fisher-Dollfuss manual, right?
Yeah.
And the professor was a former professor of the school who passed away already. And well, he was the head of the department at the time.
Yeah.
And well, was one of the uh, one of the people who um, made the department better years after. Mhm.
Mm. His macroeconomics class really grabbed
Uh-huh.
you. Would that have been like intermediate macro in like
Intermediate
America?
macro, that's right. Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Well, what was different? What was different about that class?
Mm, well, I get a combination of two things, I guess. The textbook,
Yeah.
which at the time I thought was very well written, and it was everything was very well explained, and also the enthusiasm the professor Fernando de la Puente, uh, with which he prepared and taught every lesson.
Mm.
Uh, he was like leaving the lectures, and so it was well, I like his lecturing. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And did you, it was like, some people, they seem like they really get attached. They have that big conversion to economics either because of macro or micro. And was it for you, it really was macroeconomics?
Well, yes, yes, you can say that because, well, in the sequence of courses, econometrics, the courses in econometrics was in the fourth year, and the intermediate macro was in the third year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the time, I also like a lot. I mean, in my third year, I also had this statistics course that I
Mm,
love. But well, I mean, you cannot discuss statistics, right? Whereas macro, you
right.
can.
We discuss.
Uh,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Um,
Well, when do you decide that you want to be an economist? That must have been not
well,
you didn't probably have a lot of peers that are thinking, yeah, I want to go get a PhD in economics, or do you?
no, actually, I finished, well, at the time, the bachelor's degree was 5 years, and
Uh-huh.
I finished my bachelor's degree, and I had to go to military service. So I
Oh,
wasn't thinking
there was
about anything else.
mandatory. You were conscripted, you had to serve in the military?
Yeah, well, everyone had to serve in the military, or uh, um, uh, every man had to serve in the military, but there were more. I mean, I'm from the baby boom, and at the time there were more people than places in the military. So every year, some people were not necessary, and those were decided by a draw, a lottery, right? And I
Uh,
was lucky enough to get rid of the military. Huh?
Wait, so there was a lottery. They did a draft lottery,
Was that a draft lottery? Yeah, and I got rid of it.
and you got out. How
Mhm.
many years did they do the draft lottery?
I guess it was at the time 14 months.
Oh, do you ever study that? Do you ever use like that as like an instrument, like Josh Angris looking at
No, 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 no.
the conscript?
I don't think anyone has access to the data.
Oh, the administrative data.
I think I was, well, or some people would say that those draft lotteries were not precisely
Not
random.
ah, gotcha.
Because well, in my year, I don't know about the others, but in my year, the oldest guys got rid of it.
Oh,
No? Because when you are older, you might contest your
yeah, that doesn't
your
seem random.
well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So you get out, you're lotteried out of the conscription. And so you're thinking, yeah, I want to become an economist. I want to go to get a PhD in economics. Is that right?
Mhm.
Was there a
Yeah,
professor or something?
yeah. At the time, I contacted the professors at the school, and they said that they were going to. I mean that there were graduate courses going on. So I started my first graduate courses. I took them in the same school, in my school.
Mm. Oh, you did. You took the grad school classes at the University of
Some
Basque.
before going to the US for a PhD, I took some
Oh.
grad courses here.
Okay, okay. So the decision to go to the University of Pennsylvania, was it one of these things where you're just going to send out as many applications and you go to the best school, or is there, what do you know about Pennsylvania when you're sort of applying?
Well, well, at the time, there was this professor at the University of the Basque Country, Salvador Barberá, very well-known economist, um, and he invited us to uh, sort of cross the Atlantic, huh?
Mm,
And he knew well what were the schools where we should apply, and so uh, we at the time we first sent letters to send us the applications, and then send the applications by mail,
uh-huh.
and and we did send the applications to several schools, and Penn was the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know anything about the program before you got there?
Uh, well, yes, the information that we got from the what they send us the application form plus brochure, and also Salvador Barbera already told us that was a very good econ department.
Yeah.
A professor, a Spanish professor, Xavier Vives, was at the time, I guess, an assistant professor there.
Mm, mm.
Um, so, well, we had that information about the uh, Department of Economics at Penn.
Yeah. Well, so what was that first year like? Tell me about taking your micro, your macro, your econometrics. Were those classes hard or did you like
Yeah,
them?
yeah,
They were
very
hard.
hard.
They were very hard.
Some of the stuff I already knew from because I had already taken some graduate courses that the speed at which the materials were going was very high, and also all these homeworks that we had to turn in due time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh,
Yeah,
so it was hard. Yeah.
that was hard.
Mhm.
Did you, by the end of that first year, after all your exams of that first year and everything, did you come away from it thinking, I want to continue to study macroeconomics? Because your early career definitely has that flavor of
Mhm.
like, time series econometrics and macroeconomics. So was
That's
that
right. Mhm.
something that starts to happen pretty quickly?
Yeah, well, certainly I wasn't a micro person,
Yeah.
and I liked the econometrics time series in particular at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and macro. So applying, my idea was to apply time series methods to macro issues.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. What'd you write your dissertation on?
The monetary model of exchange rates.
The what?
The monetary model of exchange rates.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Because you do a lot of that. You
Mhm.
that's a major part of your research agenda.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Who'd you end
like
up
the.
working with? Who was your advisor?
My advisor was Roberto Mariano,
Okay.
Filipino professor at Penn, and also in my dissertation committee, uh, um, the other two members were Mark Nerloff and Frank Diebel.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So you write this dissertation and now I can't remember. Do you immediately go back to the Basque Country? Actually, there
That's
was
right.
like a long
Yes,
section. I don't remember.
yes, yes. After finishing, we went back to Bilbao right away.
You always were hoping that that would happen?
Well, there was a moment when we were, I guess, it was in my third year basically when you have to decide whether you'll go to the job market the year after, right?
Yeah.
At that point, I hesitate a bit whether to do the American job market or going back to Bilbao. But then uh, decided that I would come back.
What was the draw? What made you want to go back home? I mean, it's beautiful here, so I don't know, but I mean,
Mhm.
was there something specific about the Basque Country that made you want to return?
Well, actually, if I had a doubt about whether to do the American job market or not, uh, there was a personal family issue
Mm,
that turned the things in the direction of coming back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you've been at the University of the Basque Country this entire time, and I guess it had only been 5 years since leaving. That must have been really interesting to kind of go back to your home department. Is it a big department?
Well, at the time, it was like 30 people.
Mm,
Um, but one of the reasons why I went to do PhD to the States was that if I had been in here to get a PhD, it would have been like pain. First of all, not many people could supervise your thesis, and secondly, if you wanted to do a PhD, in most cases, people would be teaching meanwhile to get as a means of living, right?
yeah.
Um, uh, and as a result, uh, the average length of PhD studies here would have been like, I don't know, 8 years, maybe 9. Uh,
Mm,
so, and many of the professors that many of the instructors at the time in the department were people who were actually on their PhD studies.
mm, mm,
Um, well, and then there were other good economists, and also um, there were a lot of well, a group of other students like me who went to other American universities and got their PhD there and came
mm,
back to Bilbao too. No?
mm, mm. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, I want to. I want to talk about this 2003 American Economic Review article on
Mhm.
the economic costs of conflict in the Basque Country with Alberto Abadie. Because it seems like this is your first entry into conflict research. Is that right? I actually thought
That
maybe
is
it
correct.
wasn't.
Mhm.
That's the
That,
first one.
mhm, mhm.
I want to hear about how this paper was born. Can you, before we do though, did you and Alberto know each other before this paper?
No, I knew two of Alberto's brothers.
Oh,
Um, in I remember once, well, and then, but I knew Alberto was at MIT doing his PhD studies, and when he just finished, and he was assistant professor at Harvard School of Government. I knew. I mean, that Alberto would come to Bilbao for Christmas or something, right? So I said, okay, wait. I asked Alberto that if he wouldn't mind to um, come a bit earlier and give a short course on causal inference.
hmm.
He came and he gave the course, um, and we started talking uh, uh, about issues. At the beginning, we didn't think of doing the stuff on, I mean, a paper on the Basque conflict, right?
Yeah.
But, well, I don't know how we ended up doing it. Well, I guess we both have, we both had at the time the uh, interest it was a problem. It was a huge problem for the Basque Country, the terrorist conflict at the time. And well, and it was my first incursion into conflict, but also into causal inference. Because
Were you pretty familiar with causal inference
not
at
really.
the time?
In
Yeah,
my
because
graduate
it's
studies, I took the entire sequence of econometrics at Penn, right?
right.
Uh, well, I had as professors Lawrence Klein, Mark Nerloff, Roberto Mariano,
Mhm.
and well, in none of the courses there was a single reference to an average treatment, if I say,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But only that in an advanced course in econometrics, they had at Penn what they call a folding chair. Mm? So they have this chair with an endowment instead of um, hiring a professor. What they would do is with that endowment invite uh, professors from other universities and
Right.
have them teach for like 2 weeks or 1 week or 3 weeks a
Yeah.
special topic on fitness. And actually it was very nice because we had like I don't know, Christian Gorerux, uh, um, Andrew Harvey, Peter Phillips, well,
Oh, wow.
many econometricians, very good econometricians, with Iniwi. Uh, anyway,
Oh, wow.
and I remember James Stock, who came for a lecture, mentioned something about the average treatment effect. Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was like once in my entire sequence of econometric courses. Well, and in fact, I invited Alberto to Bilbao to give a lecture on that.
You though so what would this have been like late 90 like 99 or early 2000s or something?
97, maybe.
Oh, so you invite Alberto 97. And
Well, or maybe in 86. I don't remember exactly.
oh, Javier, so, but the phrase causal inference, is that what you were asking him to teach, or was it like like what was your awareness of what this area of causal inference was exactly?
Oh, very little, but
Very little.
well, I guess at the time the the causal inference was already this term was already uh, going on. I mean, I was aware of it, right? But I knew I had a knowledge gap.
Yep. Yep. Same here.
Mhm.
Took every econometrics we have a similar. I came out later than you, but I had taken every econometrics class at my graduate school. That was my field, and I never heard the word causality once, except for Granger causality. So that
That's
was the
right.
only
That's right.
time I would have ever heard it. And
Mhm.
it's ironic actually. One of the first econometrics of causal inference material I ever learned, probably outside of instrumental variables, that was like an actual piece of econometrics was your paper. It was the synthetic
Uh-huh.
control estimator after
Mhm.
graduating. And then I became very obsessed with that paper. So you have Alberto come, you guys are talking, but you've never worked on conflict. So and I don't think
Mhm.
Alberto had either. So something comes up to make you, and something must have happened. I mean, I know that ETA was very active in your
That's right.
life, but did it just very immediately come up that we should because you're okay, so I'm just kind of thinking you're the macroeconomist. You've studied, you're thinking about economic growth. Is that what starts it, the macro part?
Yes, yes, definitely. Um, and we thought that well, causal inference is, after all, just constructing the counterfactuals, right? And
Right.
so, and the idea that the existence of a terrorist group, the terrorist conflict, uh, would be detrimental for the economy. It's, I mean, uh, obvious, if you wish, right? And
It was not controversial at the time. Like you had a
well,
feeling as a macroeconomist that
well,
it had
you,
depressed the region.
yes, I guess that would be the consensus, right? But only that, well, it would have a negative impact, but how much, right?
Right.
And at the beginning, we thought of uh, studying the impact of the conflict on things like investment and the number of the registered companies, things like that. But then, well, with investment, the problem was the data. We didn't have the data available for that. And with the number of registered companies, there was such a huge seasonality. No? When you have this seasonality, probably it doesn't let you see other things.
Yeah.
And well, also the business cycle going on, right? Um,
Right. Right.
so at the end, we decided to look at the impact on GDP per
Mm,
capita.
mm. Well, so the development of that synthetic control estimator, what had you and Alberto just been kind of thinking to yourself, let's do this long trend in GDP and create this counterfact? I mean, because that had never been done. There hadn't really been anything sort of like that, right?
Uh-huh.
There's so many unique elements to it.
Mhm. Well, as I told you, Alberto came to give a course in causal inference.
Uh-huh.
I mean, a synthetic control method was Alberto's idea. It's not
Yeah.
mine.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't possibly have that idea because I didn't know the stuff on causal inference. Maybe I can take the credit of pushing Alberto's to apply methods that typically were used for lots of observations to a single unit, right?
Right.
But other than that, Alberto should take all the credit.
So I'm just curious, when you quantified, for the sake of the listener, could you tell us, what it is that you found in your study?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
For the sake of, I just kind of realized that I know this paper so well, but not all the listeners might know it. Can you tell us just for the sake of the listeners, sort of what the research question was and a little bit about the history of terrorism in the Basque Country and what you found?
Yeah, well, the Basque terrorist group ETA was killing people, and so there was a terrorist conflict here in the Basque Country in the 70s and 80s, right? And 90s.
Yeah.
And then so what we the research
That's your whole
idea.
life. Your whole life, you lived in that.
That's right.
Wow.
And the research idea was to look at the impact of the terrorist conflict on the economy,
Right.
in particular on the GDP per capita, and how? Well, constructing a counterfactual, and that's how the synthetic control method came up as a way of constructing that counterfactual. It's just a weighted average of other Spanish regions. And what we found is that after the uprising of the terrorism conflict in the Basque Country, and during the next 20 years, the average GDP per capita fell by about 10%. At the time, some people thought that 10% was very little.
Really?
Yeah, 10%. Well, maybe they weren't aware of what they were saying, right? Because 10% of GDP,
Yeah, 10%
it's a lot.
GDP.
You have to have sorry?
That compounds. You stay below that. I mean, seeing that, what about when they saw the counterfactual and they saw what it could have been? I mean, they still say that? It's a lot of money.
Yeah. But no, well, some people, believe it or not, from here, not Americans, not French people, no. Some Spanish people would claim that the 10% loss of GDP was not very much.
Did it get a lot of attention? Did the paper get a lot of attention, like in government in the Basque Country? Because this is about 10 years before ETA discontinued. So there must have a study like this in the flagship journal, must have really had to have made its way to policymakers. Did it?
Well, some, I tell you. First of all, there was, before we got the paper published in American Economic Review, the paper was an MBR working paper.
Yeah.
And when it was an MBR working paper, um, well, we had the 9/11 events, right?
Right. Yes.
So that terrorism wasn't just a thing of the Basque Country; it was a
Right.
world thing, right at the time.
Mhm.
So, and journalists from Newsweek found our working paper, and
Mm.
had an article in Newsweek, which another journalist in Spain read, and then one of the main newspapers in Spain, El País, had an article on our working paper. I had never been in the newspapers, uh, and uh, and then, I mean, I understand that you might think that publishing in a top journal on a topic of interest for politicians would make it to the authorities, right?
Yeah.
Well,
No.
I can
Okay.
assure authorities don't
So
read
your
the
life is exactly your life is exactly like mine then. Uh, wow. So, okay, I'd love to hear a little bit about what practically did you observe growing up about ETA that would have made you think or made others around here think, yeah, this really would have like what are the mechanisms that you observed as a young person around you and growing up that you observed that made you think this is probably so substantial that it actually might really take a big hit in GDP? What are some things that you experienced or saw?
Mhm. Well, I remember one a professor I had in say Econ 1, no? The first introductory course in economics. They no, it was say Econ 2 because it was macro, right? And
Yeah.
at the time, we were being introduced to the Keynesian model, right? And you have the investment as a function of the interest rate. And I remember the professor saying, well, yeah, that's in the textbook. But here in the Basque Country, investment depends on other things too. Well, here and other places, but maybe those things are not present in other places. And he claimed that uh, the terrorist conflict would uh, would have an impact on investment.
Oh,
Many entrepreneurs would decide not to invest in the Basque Country because if they at the time invested in the Basque Country, uh, they could be the target of the terrorist group.
because he was
Uh,
ETA was targeting business people some of the
that's
time,
right.
right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
many left the Basque Country.
Oh,
Mhm.
um, I don't want to ask you things you're not comfortable answering, but it must have been pretty frightening.
Yes, well, I mean, life here went on,
Yeah.
and you could leave. I mean, regular people would not be affected other than by the shocking news. No?
Yeah.
The terrorists would kill people, but life was going on, and you had to cope with it. Mhm.
It's like the thing is as an outsider, my understanding is it's like the the thing that's giving birth to ETA is the dictatorship under Franco was also terribly oppressive for people. But is that I don't really want to put words in your mouth, but this is a long history of some political pain. Is that accurate?
Well, I agree with that. I mean, not that I was particularly uh, uh, repressed. I was a kid. Uh,
Yes. Hmm.
as a kid, well, I mean, uh, those are things for grown-ups, no?
Yes.
But I mean, later on, I learned that, yeah, for many people, it was a period of repression, particularly uh, for the language.
Mm.
The Basque language wasn't well. Uh, what was it, they say that it was banned in the sense that no one would use the Basque in any um, uh, well in any way, right? Other than those whose mother tongue was the Basque at home. Of course, they could speak Basque, but in the streets, was people wouldn't use Basque, and only if you went at the time you went to some villages, and particularly in the coast, and you could hear, but uh, very little. And
Mm.
nowadays, uh, I'm not a Basque speaker, but my
Right.
daughters do speak Basque.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Because,
It
well,
the
the Basque government has done a good job in promoting the language.
Yeah. It's a difficult language. I've spoken with two older women since I've been here in San Sebastian, and I asked them, one was a shopkeeper and one was a lady that was walking beside me on the beach or on the Pomerade. And I asked them if they spoke Basque, and they said it was really difficult. They said the same thing that you said, which is that their daughters learn it, teach it, or they speak it or can speak it. But they said it's actually very difficult to learn. And so that surprised me because I thought maybe it was pretty similar to Spanish, but it must not be. Is that
No,
right?
it's very different. Actually, it's very
Very
different to
different.
any language from Latin. Any language that comes from Latin has no common root with the Basque language. Actually,
Mhm.
they don't really know where it comes from.
Nobody knows where the Basque language came from?
Mhm.
Oh. Did your
Well,
parents speak?
well, as far as I know, there are theories, but uh, none of them is uh, uh, refuted or nor accepted.
It gets eliminated um under the dictatorship.
Mhm.
I see.
Well, not eliminated, not because I mean those who were Basque speakers would
Yeah.
continue using regardless whether Franco's regime was against it. Um, but yeah, it was repressed. Mhm. And well, and also it was a dictatorship, right? It wasn't a democracy. Not
Right.
it's not only the language thing, all the other
Yeah.
things.
It's
And
all the
and I
other.
guess, well, at the beginning, they claimed that at the beginning, those who were the first in the ETA didn't have the same goals as the later members. Mhm.
Really?
Like,
What was the original goals?
well, the goals might be the same, meaning um, the independence of the Basque Country, right? But the means are or were probably different. At the beginning, uh, where there was a story that some ETA members went to a company here in a town here near Bilbao, Baracaldo,
Mm-hmm.
and it was payday. So at the time, you would get your wage in cash, right? So and they went there to rob the money,
Ah,
and but then the workers that saw that these guys were going to take their money took some tools and said, "Hey, we are going to fight against you." And the
yeah.
guys with a gun didn't shot the workers,
They did
right?
not shoot the
Did not
workers.
shot. No. But years after, they would kill everyone.
Mm, mm. They were a
Years after,
socialist
they
organization.
would have been. Sorry,
They were a socialist in what
say
they
it
when they
again.
were wanting independence, they also were wanting a socialist economy. Is that right?
Yes, I guess so.
So they had like so early on there might have been more sympathies with labor, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah. Whereas at the very end, we're just a group of people who just wanted to kill others.
I see. It would just became more of a criminal
Yeah,
organization
more
by the
criminal
end.
organization. Yeah, that's right.
Ah, okay. After this paper, you really branch out in your research agenda. You start off as this, and it's not even really predictable in a way. Like after this, you start this new career as a labor economist. You've got wage decompositions in '04 and
Mhm.
'05. You then have this long career on conflict and terrorism that you keep working on. And then you've also got issues on uncertainty and mathematical psychology paper, and then even culture. And so I'm curious, what was responsible for this kind of blossoming out in so many different directions?
I guess curiosity.
Curiosity. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Um, for instance, um, with the cultural economics. Uh,
Mm,
well, I didn't even know what cultural economics was.
mm,
But uh, we hired a professor who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago,
mm,
um, Victoria Teca.
mm.
And Victoria, um, her field of expertise was cultural economics. So she was every day organizing things and cultural economics. And I said, what's that?
Uh-huh.
So out of curiosity, right? You see people that know about something and I can't refrain myself from learning some.
Yeah. What did
Curiosity.
what all were you curious about? You were curious about the field too, but when you start working on projects, what kind of things were you interested in cultural economics? Because I wrote it
Oh,
down, but now I can't find it.
mhm. Well, we look uh, uh, at the effect of tax change. No? So we did
Mm,
a definitive by only that in that case the the tax change affected uh, all but one Spanish regions. No?
mm.
So we actually look at our estimate effect on the untreated.
Oh, that's the untreated is almost like do you but you don't do synthetic control?
No, we could have, but the data uh, uh, wasn't the most appropriate, I would say.
Yeah, right, right, right. So you're a very curious person.
Mhm. Well,
You
I
don't,
guess so.
yeah. So you
Mhm.
like the thing that is this what you're saying that what you like about research is that you're just curious about questions and want to answer them.
Mhm. That's right. And also, but because some of the of my research has to do with multiple choice tests, right? And
Mm,
that's a thing that my interest for about multiple choice tests is out of my teaching, right?
yeah.
When I had to teach these huge classes, and we had this multiple choice test, and we wonder whether it was good to penalize for incorrect answers or not, and we
Oh.
had these discussions about it. And ended up writing a couple of papers on that.
What'd you find? What'd you find about what have you learned about multiple choice tests that you didn't know?
Well, first of all, I learned there is a huge literature and actually a field in psychometrics
Yeah.
that I didn't know it existed.
Mhm.
Uh, and well, we had a piece where we saw what's the optimal penalty in a multiple choice test. Um, if students behave rationally, but of course, we know that not everyone behaves rationally, and then it might not be the optimal penalty in case students behave differently.
The optimal multiple choice strategy is it, just tell me if I'm wrong, like if they're all worth exactly the same, you in the test, you just eliminate things you're confidently that you can eliminate, and then you just guess over the others. And if you don't know the answer, is that
Mhm.
more or less right?
That's typically the rule when the penalty is such that um, if you omit the answer, you
Yeah.
get zero, not 0 points. But if you randomly pick up an answer, on average, you get zero,
Yeah.
0 points. That
Yeah.
the and then in under those circumstances, if you now are able to rule out one of the answers as incorrect, then it pays out to answer randomly among the remaining answers.
Mm, mm.
But in psychometrics, they would recommend not to use a penalty.
No, not to use a penalty. What do
Mhm.
they say? What do they say to do?
Well, and the reason is that um, if you use a penalty for incorrect answers, you might be uh, affecting more particular groups of people. Like, for instance, um, women typically, I mean, in the risk aversion literature, women are typically found to be more risk averse. So you use a penalty for wrong answers that typically, uh,
Yeah.
well, penalizes more women than men.
This
I
distribution
mean,
of risk preferences.
you are just, you want to know, you want to measure the knowledge of the students um, that would give you a source of bias.
Yeah. 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 Oh man. I have no idea what I am doing writing these tests. I I
Because
should
if you have
probably,
many items, if the test has lots of items,
yeah,
even if people answer blindly, right?
yeah.
Uh, I mean, the correlation between the score in the test and knowledge is huge.
Mm, mm,
I mean,
mm,
you have like 50 questions.
hmm.
Well, that's more than enough. And now, if you have only 10,
Yeah.
maybe the penalty would help. Well, maybe.
Right, right, right. I need to read your papers on this. I need to quit reading your conflict papers and maybe spread out a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh, well, I want to end on this question because I've had you for over an hour. Thinking back, if you could share, you could go back to that kid, that young kid at Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania, at any point, and you've now had the wisdom of a full career of a career, and he's kind of starting out with all this hope and uncertainty and curiosity too. And there's just maybe something that you wish that you could share with him that he didn't know then, but you've had to maybe learn it the hard way. What do you think you'd like to sit down and tell your young self?
Mm. Yeah.
Beat Albe Write that synthetic control paper before Alberto?
Oh, yeah. Uh, well, I don't know. Uh, well, I'll skip that question, I guess, because I don't know what to tell myself
Yeah,
after this career. I learned lots of things. Um, I would probably have more personal things to do, more than career oriented.
yeah, yeah. What do you think young people, what do you see that what do you wish just in general young people could just know? There's studies that are finding high levels of depression, anxiety amongst these grad students that I don't know, you never know. Maybe it was always like that because we never studied it until recently. And I'm always just kind of wondering, well, nobody knows why. First of all, nobody really knows why the levels of depression or anxiety are high. They don't know if it's because of grad school or if it's selection, because there's no like causal, it's just surveys.
Mhm.
But I always just wonder, what do you wish you could tell kids that are just struggling in graduate school
Mhm.
that you think if only they knew this, or if I could share something about life to these young economists, what do you think they do need to hear?
Mhm. Well, then there is life after graduate school. Yeah. Well, it's probably the case that now we know that there is this stress and depression and anxiety in graduate schools that I think it was already decades ago. Huh?
Yeah,
Only that probably people would would keep it more privately. Like
yeah,
when I was a kid, uh, you had to attend a psychologist. You would keep it as a secret.
sure.
Whereas now, you walk on the street and meet a friend, and where are you going? I'm going to see my therapist. That's
Mm,
like going to the dentist, right?
yeah, right.
Uh, um, but on the other hand, it's true that well, life is more competitive.
Yeah,
So graduate schools are should be more competitive too.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but when I was a graduate student, I remember going to the library to Xerox an econometric paper, right, that the professor had been teaching on, and I went to the shelf, took the volume, and I saw that the pages of the article had been cut.
oh no, somebody cut the pages out.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe so I thought, is this just because the guy didn't have the sense to make the zeros, or is it because the guy is very competitive, doesn't want the classmates to know the answer to the problem?
Oh gosh.
Huh? Uh,
right?
uh, well, I don't know what the answer is, but
Yeah, yeah,
competition has always been there. No?
yeah. Well, it's
Only,
there
only that
outside
now.
of the. Go ahead. Sorry.
But it is true that in general, life is more competitive in many respects.
Yeah,
So in graduate school shouldn't be the exception.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's, all of life is hard, to be honest. I mean, even it's not just graduate school. It can, if you somehow manage to avoid difficulty, that's like winning the lottery and not having to serve in the military. This has been a real pleasure, Javier. I've been wanting to meet you for a long, long time. So I really
mhm,
appreciate you letting me hear your story
mhm,
and learn a little bit more about this career that you've had.
mhm. Well, it's been a pleasure to be your guest in your podcast. Well, I also wanted to meet you. I knew about your textbook, very good
Oh,
one, very nice. No? And also, the first time I learned about your podcast was when you interviewed Alberto.
yeah.
A couple of days after or some, I saw your interview to Alberto. And then I watched a few more, but not. I'm not really a follower. No? I did subscribe, but didn't listen to all of them.
Yeah, there are a lot. I just finished my 100th episode.
Mhm.
I think you're like my 104th guest.
Oh my,
So it'll be great. It'll be great.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, well, it's wonderful to meet. And I love, I came to the Basque Country. It sounds funny. I told this shopkeeper, she asked me while I was in Sebastian, and I said, well, one of my favorite papers is about the Basque Country. I wanted to come here, and because I'm working on the book, but I also really wanted to come here. I was thinking, I was like, I have thought about this paper for 15 years,
Mhm,
all the time, and
mhm,
I've never been to the Basque Country. And I couldn't figure out where to go. So Alberto was kind of giving me advice, and then I just decided on San Sebastian. But when my daughter gets here Tuesday, we're gonna go to Bilboa because we want to go to the Guggenheim.
mhm. It's
Yeah.
like 100 meters from my place.
Oh, is it really? And
Mhm.
yeah, you're like a researcher of cultural economics, I bet. When did it
Yeah.
get built there?
Sorry?
When did it get built there?
Um, don't remember exactly, but it was uh, 1998, 97, 99. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember.
You ever done a synthetic control building at a Guggenheim
Guggenheim. Oh
in a
yeah, that
city?
could be a
You
good
could
idea.
do that. Yeah. See what effect. People do that all the time in the United States on these sports papers. They like look at building the stadiums.
Mhm.
Um, well, so nice. I hope we run into each other.
Okay.
Do you ever play that game? Do you ever play that sport where it's the big curvy?
De cesta punta. No,
Are you good at it?
no, I'm very bad at. I only used to play when I was a kid
Yeah.
with my bare hand. The
Oh,
the pelot,
really?
the very the simplest form of the game is with your bare hand.
Well, wait, you're just catching it and throwing it?
No, no, you hit the ball when it comes as if you
Oh,
had the racket, right?
yeah.
Only you hit with the hand, right?
Oh,
Actually, that's the most popular uh, version of the pelota vasca. Because well, you need only the ball, right?
you
And
only
well,
need the ball
and a
in that
wall
big. Yeah.
and a wall where you hit the ball, right? But other
But
than
it's
that,
heavy, isn't it? It's kind of like a baseball, isn't it? Isn't it kind of hard?
Well, it depends on the particular game, because there are like several
Oh.
modes of playing the Basque pelota. One is the high alai. In the States, it's known as high alai. It's the cesta, which is the one with the big straw-made thing. And then is the pala, which is wooden-made racket. Then there is remonte. Remonte is very similar to the high alai, very similar. Only the thing is different, and also the way you get the ball into this thing is also different. And then the what we call handball, because you hit the ball with the hand.
Lots of these. That's interesting. So you've got 7 different versions of hitting a ball against the wall games.
Yeah. And some, I mean, all of them are played in, of course, the Basque Country, in other Spanish regions, in France, of course, and also in Latin America, and in the States.
Wow. I'd love to play that one with the hook. I can't remember how you said it, but I've heard you can get hurt pretty bad. If it comes at you like 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, and there used to be places in the States where you could see professionals playing that. Lately, not, I guess 2 years ago or so, they closed a fronton in Miami. The last one they had there, and where they used to play the World Series of High Alai, and now they are played in a place near here, Marquina.
Yeah. Oh, really?
We do have lots of sports, popular sports. Also, the rowing thing that they mentioned at the beginning. The so-called traineras, which are boats with 12 people row, and then the coach goes with them. And also there are also popular sports like stone lifting.
Stone lifting?
So you have these huge stones, like 100-some kilograms, maybe 200. And typically the game goes, it's a betting game. Like someone says, okay, I'm gonna lift this stone 40 times in less than, I don't know, 10 minutes or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying the length of time correctly, but and then they bet. Some bet against, some in favor, and then the guy keeps on lifting the stone.
You ever challenged Alberto to a stone lifting contest?
No. Maybe only glass lifting.
Glass lifting, yeah, exactly. That's about my speed. Alberto, Javier, I'll drink 10 of these. You watch me, and then I fall asleep. Well, it is so much fun talking. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.